that you're watching a neurotic Jew in a yellow shirt. I'm like, that's the new name of the show. My name is Ed Crasnick, and welcome to Humor Me, the show that's, I was looking at myself and not you, the show that's all about comedy from the creator's perspective. And, you know, I realize that the show is really not even about it's about the people who do comedy. You know, when you know about the person and then they're funny on top of it, it's amazing. The sky's the limit. You can just tell by the way I'm talking now that this is going to be gangbusters. All right. Tonight we have a very special guest. He's a writer. I met him many years ago as a comedian, an actor, and he has great taste in cars and smoked meats. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Sklar will be joining us very shortly. But I did want to tell you a couple things. We are celebrity adjacent. We're 2 blocks east of, we're 10 blocks west of the, east of the ocean, and 2 blocks over from Ralph's produce aisle. And we're close to where they filmed the show Cops. I'm not kidding about that. I auditioned, but I kept my shirt on. All right. Now, I got to tell you, this is actually happening to me. It's back to school week, and I'm going into 3rd grade emotionally. No, my daughter is 6½, almost 7, really, and she has started to be interested in skating. Started with rollerblading and now into the roller skating. And I go out with her and you know, sort of follow her along, and she's learning how to do it. And I realize that I'm starting to turn into the great Santini. This is a little bit of a problem. I am starting to, I'm having her watch videos, I'm having old skaters come in from the past, and it's just, you know, I have to just slow it down. When I'm very proud of her, but I realize there's a part of me that came out that maybe didn't come out of my own childhood when I basically laid in bed until I was 22. And I'll hold. At any rate, as I said before, being a parent is the great equalizer. I don't care what kind of hero you've been. I don't care how inspiring you've been. When you're a parent, you're a human being. You're the great equalizer. Even Dr. Martin Luther King, when he was writing the I Have a Dream speech, you know he had his kids hovering around. Maybe they were having jelly sandwiches. I don't know what they were doing. But I know that at one point he turned and yelled and he said, Coretta, will you shut those kids up? I'm writing the I Have a Dream speech. There you go. So glad I could get that out. And then we have something now on Facebook. This is a new thing that I've become aware of called branching out. And it's like a LinkedIn job search kind of a thing. And I got very excited about it until I realized that I was just getting in touch with other people who were no longer working. And so basically, you're looking at it like a Rolodex of the greatest people in the world who should be working, who are not working. And as I go from face to face, you know, anyway, I like it. But about work and about finances these days, I learned something very, very important today. Coffee and panic do not go well together. Coffee and panic go together like a hearse and carriage. And I'm holding. All right. And I have to say that, you know, the expression your money's no good here, they have now shortened it to your money's no good. And then, of course, you have
warmed up.
You know, show business. I mean, this is material. I don't even know what I'm doing. There is a, you know, show business, part of LA. You can't escape it. People talk about it all the time. And I go to my bank, and when I go to the bank now, I realize that I look like a guest star on Starsky and Hutch. When I go to the bank, I'm like a villain. I don't know what I'm going to find there, and I'm like running around like I'm trying to avoid someone. And then I go to the bank. I go to the bank machine. I don't know what's coming out because I'd rather not know. And the receipt comes out and it says insufficient talent, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't need that in my life. And then finally, you know, I was watching Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy. I think it was Adam's Rib. And I realized if they had only had texting, It would have changed so many movies. You would have had Text M for Murder. It would have been, you could have had like, oh, Raymond Burry's coming up right now, and there he is. He's going to take a picture. And then you'd have Fredo. He knew it was you. You sold him out. Get out of the boat. You would have had The Wizard of Oz. You would have had, there's a tree. It's angry. It's going to reach down. Don't grab the apples. And it would be so easy. Of course, you wouldn't have much of a story, but you would have great communication. And that's what tonight is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, before I bring on our guest, who's sitting not 2 inches from me, I want, through the magic of television, and not really, I want to show you a film. This is a short film, a series that Chuck Sklar did, and I think it has John Ennis in it. Yes. And the actor John Ennis. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's called, and some other people.
Whitney Cummings.
Whitney Cummings is in it. I think you're gonna recognize her.
Ron Lynch.
Oh my God, the great Ron Lynch, fantastic. It's called Come to the Net, and we're going to show a clip from it, and then we're going to come back and talk to Chuck Sklar. Check it out.
Previously on Come to the Net.
So how's Whitney?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
I thought things were going great.
Things were going great. I mean, things were going great right from the start.
Whitney.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
I thought you might want to have dinner sometime.
You know, I don't really go out.
I'm in show business.
So what do you do in show business?
I'm a comedy writer.
Really? You don't seem that funny.
Well, I mean, you know.
Have you ever thought about growing a beard?
Yeah, I know all that, but then what happened?
You know that guy that manages my building?
God, I love this beard on you. It really makes you look like a writer.
I don't know. To me, it makes him look like Osama bin Laden.
What in the hell kind of a thing is that to say?
Here, see for yourself.
Honestly.
Oh my God.
Let me see that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Thank you.
No, I mean that she hadn't noticed you look like bin Laden. I noticed on September 12th. How's your brother Alan? Is he still living on your couch?
How'd that job interview go?
It didn't. But I'm gonna make a movie.
Have you tried telling him to get his life together, get a job, and get the hell out of your apartment?
I actually haven't tried that.
Because it really worked on my dad.
Seriously?
Haven't seen him since.
It's been great having you here for the last 4 months. And 3 days.
Yeah, man, it's been fun.
But I think the time's come for you to get a job and then find your own apartment.
I'm in the middle of packaging a really important movie. This is not a good time, Chuck.
Get out. Me and Whitney are supposed to go to the movies tonight. She hasn't called me back yet.
Call her up and tell her you have a big surprise, shave the beard. By the time she comes over there, she won't even remember that you look like Osama's twin.
I don't think we should see each other anymore.
I really think we should meet and talk about this face to face.
Or we could email.
I really don't want this to end. And I got a little surprise for you.
Really?
Whitney's gonna be here in 5 minutes. I gotta go chop this beard off. So when she gets here, let her in.
I'll be right over. Okay, bye.
Alan, answer the door. What the fuck? Whitney, I'm really sorry I'm running behind. What?
Okay, that's Come to the Net, which is very, very funny and very bin Laden-like. And here with us tonight to discuss it is the very un-bin Laden-like Chuck Sklar. Chuck?
Hey.
How are you?
Thanks, Ed.
Well, it's a pleasure to reach across the aisle.
I know. I've been sitting here for the last 10 minutes. I thought I came here to be on the show, and I've just listened to you talk.
I know.
But okay, that's fine.
That's what the show was originally called. Listen to me talk and sit by me. Was the name of the show. Tell me, I got to tell you right off the bat, that's very funny.
Thanks.
And I do remember that we worked on a show together called Raising Dad, and I remember somebody putting a picture of you with a beard.
Right.
And it looked like bin Laden.
Well, that was a picture of bin Laden. Because we were working on, exactly 10 years ago, we were working at that show on September 11th.
Yeah.
2001.
That's right.
And of course, his picture was everywhere. And I'm sitting there watching the news in the writer's room, and it's like, oh my God, what's happening? And I go, am I crazy, or do I look like Osama bin Laden? And because I just thought I looked like him, and then everyone went, that's ridiculous, Chuck. And then they looked at the set, and they looked back at me, and they're like, oh my God, you do look like Osama, especially right in here, so when you put the beard on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very handsome terrorist, or he was. But I've now played him. I played bin Laden on Louis' show, Louis.
Oh yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
And I've been on the George Lopez show.
As bin Laden.
Yeah, as bin Laden. Well, it was called Lopez Tonight.
Was it like for you the same thing as like Von Meter had? He used to do Kennedy, and now you have bin Laden, and when he got killed, you were saying, couldn't they just have captured him? Why'd they have to kill him?
Right, exactly. No, I don't,
You're cutting my throat!
I just want to point out that I've never heard of Von Meter. No.
I'm glad that you pointed that out. Von Meter was a guy who did
remember
Kennedy.
He did the First Family album, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
But I don't think only we know that.
With the two of us, and there's somebody in South Africa, I'm sure.
Hey, South Africa, I hear we're big.
It's a shout out to Soweto.
Hello.
I bless the rain down there. All right. So, anyway, now I got to ask you. You just came the George Lopez Tonight.
Right.
And you have written. I realized when I was thinking about it, you've written for a lot of great hosts and great programs.
Definitely.
And different venues. Chris Rock.
Right.
Conan.
Great.
George Lopez Tonight.
Yeah, he's
and
great. Bill Maher.
And Bill Maher.
And Craig Kilborn.
Oh yes, I'm familiar.
He had a show on CBS.
A lot of great shows.
Yeah.
How is it always monologue? Is it mainly monologue?
The funny thing is, writing jokes isn't my strength, but I'm better with dialogue and characters or whatever, but I also write jokes. And that's how I first broke in. Well, no, I worked for Bill Maher first, and then I did that for like 6 weeks, and I got a job offer from Conan, and I went over there. I jumped ship.
And so you go over to Conan, and you were there for a while.
And I just worked on the monologue. That's all I did. I was hired specifically to do that.
Now, tell us about what goes on. You come into the office. First of all, you're at 30 Rockefeller.
Yeah, that was exciting.
You're at 30 Rock. You're working there.
Yeah.
You come in. You're
crazy.
Living in New York. You get coffee, and you
I was
go
making like
upstairs.
$300 a month for the 5 or 6 years that I just did stand-up.
Yeah.
Literally. No
Yeah.
exaggeration. Just
Yeah.
horrible. And
now here you are at 30 Rock as
yeah,
a
it was
kid.
crazy. So yeah, I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting.
And so you go up in the elevator, you have your coffee that says, "We're proud to serve you," the New York coffee cup, where every
Yes.
paper cup has, "We're proud to be of service." And you go up, and what happens?
Well, so that back then, there was 3 of us that wrote the monologue for Conan, and we had a meeting every day at 12 with Conan for like an hour. It was scheduled to where we would write the monologue with him, but we would be preparing for it before that. And I came in like 6 weeks into the show, and they were firing somebody, and I was replacing him, but we were there overlapping, and then it was kind of weird. But so we're all supposed to just write jokes, and I don't think, because Conan himself wasn't a regular stand-up comedian, and Robert Smigel was a producer of the show, and he wasn't a guy who was a big stand-up guy either. Nobody had a thing of like, all right, everybody on this writing staff, like a normal writing staff like Leno, would be like, every writer writes 20 to 40 monologue jokes per day and hands them in by a certain time. This was just like, so this was the 3 of us sitting in a room, and we would all have a few ideas, and then we would type them up. And there would be a page with 8 to 12 jokes on it.
Wow.
Which is weird. And we would go into Conan, and we would have a page, maybe a page and a half. Maybe there was 15 jokes on a. If we had 15 jokes, we were like, all right, we're golden. And we would go in, and we would generally, because Conan, remember, only did at the beginning, he did 3 jokes.
Right.
Maybe 4. And he wanted to do them all in a theme. And that was while we were working in that way, collaborating like that, because it just helped, we're building with the theme. So we would go in there and pitch him some jokes, and then he would start writing jokes, and then we would start, pigpiling on whatever idea came up, and that's how the monologue got written. And sometimes, we had the jokes already written, and that worked, and sometimes Conan saved the day. Or sometimes he went, well, I'm out of time, so figure it out, and then we would hand him a script, like at 2:30, 3 in the afternoon, and he would be fine with it, or he would be like, I hate this joke. And it's kind of weird, when you're only doing 3 or 4 jokes, if a guy hates one joke, oh, you just lost a third of the monologue.
We failed.
It seemed like a federal case back then. We were all like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Because we've written all the jokes. There's no more.
Right.
But you after now, 18 years later, I'm like, don't worry about it. Just write more jokes. We'll just come up with some other jokes.
But then you're at 30 Rock. This
Yeah.
is everything's a big deal.
Right.
5 o'clock is coming.
Yeah. So it was. So we would be in a panic mode, right? Trying to think of jokes, and of course, there's a bunch of comedians, so we're all very negative. We're like, oh, this is hard. It wasn't hard. It was easy.
Yeah.
Hard is like you look out of 30 Rock and there's a guy in the street, like working in a sewer.
Sure.
And so it was silly, but still it was stressful. It did give you stress.
And how do you learn how to? Is it just by repetition? By you keep doing something, and then you learn how to manage the stress, or you just sort of like you have it in perspective?
It helps to stop caring, but
it does help to stop caring.
It really helps to stop
caring. It's a curse to care. If you care and you're a comedian, you're dead. I mean,
but there's a lot of different. Like when I first started, I remember I heard early on a bad rap against me. He's proprietorial, if that's a word. Proprietorial, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Meaning, I wrote something, I believe in it, and I don't care that you're rejecting it because I think it's good. So I'm gonna keep pitching it.
And that's how you were. That's how you
I
used
was
to
a
be.
little hanging on to my own ideas, which is definitely was true, even still today. But I now know, like, whatever. If it isn't breaking the room up, then don't waste your time.
Right. But what you think is funny to you, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, whatever you want to do.
A lot of the times, you'll write a joke, and it is funny, but it's not funny for George Lopez.
Right.
It would be like, oh. Or sometimes I wrote a joke, I'll pitch it to George Lopez. He likes it because it's funny.
Yeah.
And then but he's not thinking that, he has a very good radar for what would be a joke he would want to do. But sometimes something will strike him as funny, and he'll just be like, oh, I'll do that. Even though it was something that it would be funny that I said it, but I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah.
But it was like, it'll come to me later after the interview at dinner.
Sure, okay. We'll come back and film it.
Oh no, here was the joke.
Yeah.
The joke was, it's all news-based stuff. So it's been determined definitively that what's his name, the guy that in the Tour de France, that won the Tour de France.
Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong was doing steroids and human growth hormone, and that was the news story. And the joke was, no kidding, he rode a bike over the Alps. What do you think he was on? 5-hour energy drink?
That's a good joke.
So the punchline was, no kidding, he rode a bike over the Alps. And that was, when I said that in the room, everybody broke up, and I'll pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
I was very happy with that one. And George was like, great. So meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, that's one of those jokes that is over in a millisecond on the word Alps.
Yeah.
It's over, and it's very funny, but you kind of have to be the kind of comedian that does a joke like that, where George he's very performance-y.
Yeah.
And he
sells it.
He sells it, and he isn't a guy who likes a one-word punchline. He likes a lot of words to work with.
Yeah.
And act out.
So for him,
bombed.
It bombed. He went and did it. He thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And then he went and did it with his style, and it bombed because of his style.
He kind of saved the Alps joke bombed. Then he saved it with, what do you think he's on, 5-hour energy drink?
Okay.
Which was a tag that I put in there, or somebody else put in there.
Yeah.
And it was, thank God, because it kind of made it work. But his audience, it was too Jewish. I think I just realized what the problem was.
It was very Jewish.
Like most of my material,
Yeah.
it was excessively Jewish.
It had a Jewish bent to it. Yeah, absolutely.
But
he's a very good stand-up.
He's great.
So he can
I have a lot of
he can
respect
do
for
it.
him.
Yeah, he's a great stand-up.
Yeah.
How is working for him different than it was working for Conan? How does that differ? How do you differentiate those things? Night and day?
Super different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dusk and day. No. It's the difference between Conan and Chris Rock, night and day. The difference between George and Conan, dusk and day.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Because I am a racial profiler. How are you?
You certainly are. You certainly good to see
At
you.
least this isn't going out live on the web.
No, it's not. We just lost Soweto. Anyway, who else do we lose? No, but that's what I was going to ask you about too.
Yeah.
You're a Jewish guy,
Right.
who happens to write for a lot of people of color.
True.
What's up with that? No, I mean,
I don't really. It's you know what.
How does that happen?
It happened this way. To answer your question about Conan and George.
Conan and George, right?
Because that's funny because they were just back to back on TBS.
Right.
For a year.
Sure.
And that was weird, but you know, George is a dyed-in-the-wool comic.
A nightclub comic.
Yeah, he's but he can also play Red Rocks. You know, he's like touring with Santana and playing live outdoor theaters, and he commands the stage. Yeah. And our show, the Lopez Tonight, was almost like too big of a show, too much excitement for midnight. It was kind of like George would come out there and he wanted to destroy every night, and he did with the audience. But it was kind of like, I don't know, is that too hot for TV? Like they used to say.
You're watching, you're half asleep. You're watching like Jack Parr used to say. You're laying down in bed. You're watching in between your feet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you don't need to be. There's no shouting at that point.
Yeah, and it was a little big, and Conan is, he's sort of I don't know what he's doing. No, Conan is more like he's a college guy. That's kind of his shtick. It's like he's.
Not any college guy. He's a smart college
guy. Yeah, no,
guy.
he's brilliant. Yeah. He's a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
He plays the nerd. That's his thing, and it works.
And then Andy is absolutely brilliant.
Andy's great. Yeah.
So funny.
And I'm really glad that they're back together.
It works so well. The show's great. He's got great writer. Everybody, it's a great show. And Chris Rock, now who you've worked a lot with.
Yeah.
And that was a great show.
That was a great show.
Now, Chris is a consummate comedian. I mean, the best. You knew it when he was, 22. He was a consummate comedian.
Right.
So, what is that relationship like? How do you work with him?
I got on that show through good luck. That I got a meeting with him through a producer in New York who I'd worked with a little bit at Downtown Productions. Her name was Nina Rosenstein.
Sure.
And she's great. And she thought I would be a good match to have on the show with Chris when he was doing a pilot in '96. And she called me about it, and I was like, of course, I'd love to do that. And then what happened? I finally it went away. I didn't hear about it for 6 months, and I totally forgot about it. And then I got a call to go meet Chris. I was out here. I met him for like a half hour or so at 3 Arts with his manager, and it was like, I don't think he read me. I don't think he just had heard that I was funny. And then I was lucky because he says, I ran into Bob Odenkirk at lunch or something, and they knew each other from Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
And I told him I was meeting you, and I didn't know you. And Bob said that you're great, that you're hilarious, that you're awesome. So that was like, he was already like me. And then I went in there, and I didn't piss myself or anything. And I don't think I said anything funny. I don't remember.
Wow.
But then I was on the show, and it was a really good match. And Chris always says, that what was funny about me working on that show is that I brought to is the dry humor. Is that black comedians do not do dry humor. You don't see it. So there was a lot of dry humor on the Chris Rock show, but you don't see black. But it felt like a new flavor because it was black people doing it. It was like this kind of this crispy, dry humor. That was more my sketch style as opposed to the jokes.
Right. So, and for Chris, you wrote sketches.
I wrote sketches, and I wrote a few jokes.
And some jokes.
But I was focusing on writing and producing, pre-tapes and sketches.
And then Louis C.K., who I can remember standing outside a Play It Again Sam's in Boston, and I can remember him going up and performing and hanging out there, and like it was yesterday. And you worked with Louis doing some films.
I've done a few films with Louis. I did a show last year playing Bin Laden.
Right.
And then I did his very first, he made a short film years ago called Caesar Salad.
Caesar Salad, right.
I played a photographer
right.
who was taking pictures of Laura Keitlanger.
Look at what they've done here on the screen. Do you see this?
Oh, it's like the Charlie Roy show, and I'm from in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is what we would look like if we were Siamese twins, conjoined twins, and then this is also.
But we're not well dressed.
No, we're not well dressed. This is.
We're not well coordinated anyway.
This is our new sitcom called Two Sides of the Same Coin. We moved in together as one.
They need a border though, so it doesn't look like we're connected at the neck.
That's fantastic, fellas. Well, this is one of the few shows that does a lot of what we call trick photography in the business.
It's very Ernie Kovacs.
Yeah, we're doing Ernie.
Sure, let's turn the camera upside down.
we might. Anyway, so Louis.
So yeah, Louis. So I was in Caesar Salad. That was a short. It was very crazy, and he was just an ambitious 23-year-old or whatever, however old he was, kid who, you know. His mom gave him some money, and he made this whacked-out film that's very funny. It's good. It's super original.
Yeah.
He had a belief in his ideas and convictions. And obviously he still does, and it's he's luckily brilliant. You know, you could have a belief in your convictions and suck.
Right.
Louis is smart and funny as hell.
And can do. Yeah. There aren't a lot of people who can do all the steps of a show.
Right.
Like they could hand anybody that money. Right. And you wouldn't come out with anything.
Right.
He can do all the steps.
Yeah.
But needs to do all the steps because the HBO show, while it was a good show, it wasn't suited as well to his temperament.
Yeah, it was unusual.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I liked the show too.
It was unusual.
But this is a bet.
His new show is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And good for all of us. Good for every comedian because he's showing people that it is possible to have an original voice and to not play by the rules of television and to succeed.
Yeah, he's really good with tone. I was watching an episode the other night and I'm just like, oh, this is the whole series, even though every episode's different, the tone is consistent and he just has I don't know what it is. I don't know what he does, but it's working.
It's working, and it works as a filmmaker.
But then I did a feature. His first feature was a film called Tomorrow Night.
Okay.
And I think it's about to be. It was made in '97. It's finally going to be released and available on Netflix. I'm told because I just got paid for it.
Hey, that's good.
After it was on waivers, and then if they ever release it, then you get paid.
Yeah.
So I just got a check for $9,000. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey. This is money from heaven. So
that's okay.
That movie is crazy. Mm-hmm. It went to Sundance in '98 as part of like a midnight movie series, and a lot of people really liked it, but nobody bought it. And I play a guy that owns a camera shop, and I'm a very finicky, uptight guy, one of those people that owns a little shop, and when people come in, they don't like it. Because they're going to touch things, they're going to move things around, and I'd rather just have no business.
That's great.
And that's the character, and based on a real guy that had a camera shop in Manhattan, in the Village, and Louis like, I want to write a movie about this guy. He's such an asshole, and I think you could play him. Thank you very much. Okay, so I go in. So we go to the camera store.
Yeah.
And I go, and I actually wanted to buy a camera, so I go and I buy a Kodak camera of some kind, digital camera, just a regular film camera.
Yeah.
And I'm so just so that I can have an interaction with the guy and see what he's like. And he was really rude, even though I'm spending $385 on a nice camera at his stupid shop that is dusty and just a little weird.
Yeah.
He's manages to be extremely impersonable, and I walk out of the camera shop and Louis is standing there with Mark Maron, another friend of ours.
Yeah.
And I go, I could play that guy.
There you go.
I could be rude to people. Wait, now we're attached at the throat.
That's not right. That's not right. This is an experiment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Titanic. I am making a movie You know what? I gotta get out there and see what's going on.
Tonight I get to use the legs.
We play a donkey in another era in vaudeville. This is very good. But I tell you, there's a tapping that has been going on. I don't know whether it's in my head.
Yeah.
Or what's going. And I gotta go see what's going on.
What are you talking about?
There's a tap. Have you not heard the tapping?
I don't hear anything.
There's a tapping out there. I'm turning into Jack Lemmon in Prisoner of Second Avenue. There's a tapping that's going on, and I'm going to go out and see what it is.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Is this
All right.
so you're going to cut? We're going to cut to you out there?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what we're going to do.
You want me to just sit here?
Yeah, you make yourself comfortable.
Well, it's very professional.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and see what.
All right. Okay then. Well, all right. Ed's left the studio, and it's just me now. Hi everybody, America. I told some friends to watch. I hope you're watching. What can I say? Let me think of some jokes. Yeah. So there's more fighting in Israel, Egypt. Did you hear about all that? It's terrible. Everyone is, the negotiators. It's a setback, of course, but they're steadfast and believe that eventually there will be a lasting peace in the Middle East, and boy, will that make-up sex be amazing. Okay, there's no audience here to laugh at that, but I think it's a pretty good joke. Well, Ed, you're back.
Well, not emotionally, but I am back.
Well,
Chuck, I'm sorry. There was a...
what was the tapping?
It was a faucet
in
Chicago that I had heard.
Well, you got on a plane?
Yes.
Well, we'll put that in post.
Everything is in post here.
Okay.
Now you're going to see live exactly how good.
I get a bowl of Post Toasties?
You can. That joke. I heard there was a joke.
Oh yeah, did you like that?
I liked it.
Okay.
That was very good.
Yeah,
it's a good joke.
Just chatting is funnier than written material.
Well, chatting. No, there was. This was in my act years ago. I had. My ex-girlfriend and I, we play political games every night. We don't communicate well. Last night she was Israel and I was the United Arab Republic. We argued over each other's rights to exist. But it's not good. Too many words. That's an example of a not good joke. It's wordy.
Yeah.
And you know where you're going.
Right. A little bit. I have nothing left to say. You're right. That's a horrible joke.
Right, it's a bad joke. And I would do it. I would do it.
You believed in it.
I did like, I got excited about it.
Yeah.
And when you go up on stage in those days, you get like, oh, I can't wait to try out some,
Well, one thing that would happen to me would be I would do a joke, and it would maybe be a little wordy, and not the most universally appreciated joke or whatever. But I would do it when I first wrote it, and I really believed in it and I loved it, so it killed. Because I sold it.
Right.
Or the audience was perfect, or whatever. So now I'm like, I know that joke's funny. It's funny to me, and I made a couple of audiences really laugh, and then it stops working, and it's really weird.
And then you see a guy go up on stage and do nothing for a half hour and have the audience roaring with laughter.
Right.
Because they're so comfortable.
Well, he's fat.
And he's fat.
That person was fat.
Yeah, you'd have to be fat to do that. He'd have to sit around the stage. But now we're going to do something here in just a minute.
You're not going to leave me alone again, because that was awkward.
Was there abandonment stuff going on?
I have not formed attachments, so I can't have abandonment issues.
Let me explain something to the audience. We're Jews. All right. So anyway,
where were we?
Well,
I did the Louis film.
Talking about Louis.
Check that out.
Yeah.
I believe it's coming out in DVD, or it's on Netflix, or it's streaming live, or whatever the hell.
It's called
Tomorrow Night, written and directed by Louis C.K., starring me, Chuck Sklar, and some other really funny, brilliant people. In your
show, in your series, and Come to the Net, we see a lot of great people, including yourself. We see Whitney Cummings.
Whitney Cummings, who's the new Lucille Ball, I guess.
Apparently, yeah.
She's like, about to have her sitcom debut, and
her sitcom. She's very hardworking. Her sitcom is actually, it's been on and it's playing at bus stops. The sitcom is actually at the bus stop.
You know what sitcom stands for?
What is it?
Sit calmly and watch your dreams be destroyed. Do you like that? Because I have a few more loaded up.
I like that one. No. What do you got? Remember Bob Nickman? Let's give Bob Nickman his props. Go ahead. Bob Nickman was, I came to LA for a series, and then he pauses, a series of disappointments. I mean, that was good.
That's funny.
At any rate, so Whitney is in there. John Ennis, who was in Mr. Show.
John Ennis was in Mr.
Malcolm in the
Show.
Middle.
He's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I was in a comedy group with him in Boston 20 years ago called Cross Comedy.
Which was the
with
precursor.
David Cross.
Yeah, who else?
Ennis.
Yep.
John Benjamin.
Yep.
Sam Cedar.
Sure.
Helene Lantry. Lauren Dombrowski.
Yeah.
Who else was in this? Let me think. Oh, Mark Maron was kind of in it.
Maron was in it, and John Groff was sort
John
of
Groff,
in it.
who went on to be the head writer of Conan and other things.
Yeah.
And also Janine Garofalo and Laura Keitlinger were sometime members when they would stop. They were like friends of the show. And
but that show was absolutely brilliant, and it certainly was some of the makings of Mr. Show.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Now before we're going to go to the Fast Five in just a minute, but I want to find out, because I know that you submitted to SNL.
Right.
What kind of an experience is that? What do you prepare for them, and how did you feel about what you sent in?
I felt pretty good. I was asked. I've submitted to this show a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like over the last 10-ish years or so, before this. Never. I don't even think I was ever read. And it's very difficult and political, I've always heard. Even though one time I submitted and I was really trying to get a job there, because it really would have been good for me at the time, and I asked Chris Rock, could you call whomever and do something? And he went, I'll call Lauren and I'll call Tina Fey right now. And I sat there, he called them and talked me up. Nothing.
On the other end, they said, like, Chris who?
Yeah, you know how you want to read, if someone ever wrote you a letter of recommendation for college, you'd be like, I'd like to read that and see what they said.
Right.
I'm sitting there, I'm hearing Chris Rock go, he's a brilliant writer, and he's my favorite writer, and all that. I'm like, I'm cavelling for myself.
Sure, sure.
If that's possible.
Sure.
So, telling Tina and Lauren, okay. So, great. One of them was an actual call, and one of them was a message machine. So, I don't remember which. But, nothing. Didn't matter. Because they're, you know what, people, I don't think they want to hear recommendations from people. They want
it to be their own choice.
Yeah, they want it to be their own choice.
Sure.
And they don't want it to be anybody else's choice.
Yeah.
Tina doesn't want it. Tina resents that Chris Rock is calling.
That's pretty...
I don't know. I don't even know that. But I'm just like... so that, I never got hired there. So this time, my agent called me, and he said, do you want to submit to Update? Because Seth Meyers is hiring another writer for Weekend Update. And he's the head writer of the show, and he's the main anchor of the show, of the Update. Mm-hmm. So I go, yeah, why not? I had just gotten off Lopez literally the week before, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to do it, but he said, you just have to write 10 jokes, and then they read them, and then that's the first level of the process.
Okay.
I'm like, well, that's not too bad, instead of writing 40 or 50 jokes. So I write 10 jokes, and I'm pretty happy with them. And I sent them in, whenever that was, a week and a half ago, and I haven't heard a goddamn thing.
Right, well, yeah.
And if I don't hear something by tomorrow, it's a dead issue.
And then the next part of the process is they have a ring of fire.
I don't know what the hell it is.
Hazing.
I really sort of think like they should either hire me or not.
Well, that's always the case.
They don't need me to write jokes for them.
Well, the best thing, and it really is, somebody said, a quick no is a big gift.
Yeah.
And it's something that nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to hedge their bets. But if you say no to somebody, it's actually a gift. Yeah. And then they can move on.
Right.
But if it's like, my friend, he'll be on maybe in a week or so, Fred Raker, very talented guy, used to write for Carson. And he ran into a guy, he lived here, and I talked him out of it. I said, you got to move. And I was living in San Francisco at the time. I said, move to San Francisco. What do you need LA for? So he runs into a guy, he had pitched at NBC, and it had been 3 years. The guy's sitting at Dupar's, and he says, hey, how you doing? Still thinking about it. So I mean, that really is true, You just have to do what you do and let it go.
You got to let it go.
and not care?
I mean, I kind of care. I'd like to get a job offer from Saturday Night Live. That would be amazing.
I'd like to get a job offer from Bill's Donuts. I really would. I'd be thrilled with that.
I wrote that joke about the peace in the Middle East and the makeup sex. I wrote for them.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
So
it's a good joke.
that was my lead. I don't really remember the rest of the jokes. Oh, there was one about Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
You know Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Rapper Lil Wayne. He was injured skateboarding at a skateboard park in St. Louis. Ooh, that's gangsta.
Okay.
I don't know.
See?
Yeah.
People. All right, now we do something on the show, and
Well,
I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what it is, but we do something called Fast Five.
Fine.
And it's 5 unrelated questions.
Okay.
No meaning, no right or wrong answers. The only stipulation is that you answer them within 60 seconds. And believe me, no one has ever answered within 60 seconds.
Do you mean each individual question
No.
within 6? All five. I was
Yeah.
going to say that's okay.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Only one guy has answered it all 5 correctly, and he was on methamphetamines. Okay, I like that. Oh, no, all right.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Go ahead.
What is the secret of a good? Oh, I'm sorry. Put 60 seconds on the clock, please. There it is. Number 1. What is the secret of a good steak?
Happy cows.
I thought it was cheese, but it's good. Number 2. Something you could have invented.
Something I could have invented. The first thing that came to mind was the toilet. And that is because the toilet is the greatest invention in mankind.
It is.
You defecate and urinate and in your house something vile, and then it's gone.
It's the story of America, really.
That is an amazing invention.
Yeah.
I don't know who invented that.
Thomas Crapper.
Is that?
It's absolutely true.
You're right.
It's absolutely true. That was one of the joke things.
How could that be?
Let's put 40 more seconds on the clock, please. No, that was great. That's a good answer. Okay.
And by the way, the secret to a great steak is charbroiling.
And letting it rest.
Oh, okay. So that's the correct answer. Yeah.
I don't know if it is.
It is letting it rest. That's true. Yeah.
And I wish I could rest, but I can't, obviously. All right. So question number 3: what will you do when the Cubs win the World Series?
When the Cubs, I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. When the Cubs win the World Series, I am going to run around my neighborhood. I live in Los Feliz, naked.
Okay, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
That's how sure I am. The Cubs are never going to win.
In your lifetime? Well, you don't know. I thought that about the Red Sox.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was at the bloody sock game. Game
you
5,
were there?
I think.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What a great game.
I was standing the whole time.
Unbelievable. Kurt Schilling wasn't even standing the whole time.
That's a good point.
Fantastic. All right. What is the best comedy? You've played a lot of comedy clubs. What is the best comedy club promotion you've ever heard of? The best promotion.
What do you
at a
mean?
comedy
Like,
club?
will they offer something
Yeah,
and you
something for free, like T-shirt, whatever it is. T-shirt Tuesday was a big one.
Oh. I don't.
Or what's one that you wish they would do?
Okay. Comedy club promotion. I don't know.
Right.
I'm unfamiliar with this phenomenon.
Right, the comedy club promotion. Yeah, I remember at the Improv.
It was a big deal? They would give like a coffee mug?
Yeah, because they needed to make more money because they weren't making enough money.
Right.
When they were making billions of dollars.
I just remember that there was a great time when you would go to a comedy club and the audience was excited to be there. Why? Because they pay their own money. And then they started doing those they were basically giving away seats.
Giving away seats.
So I have a very negative association with that. You've really brought me down.
I'm sorry to do that. I'm sorry to do that. But if you start thinking about the Middle East, then I'll bring it around to the Cubs thing.
I can't answer that question though. Because I don't.
Morally, you couldn't answer.
Yeah, no, it kind of ruined comedy clubs. Or maybe they were already ruined because people stopped coming and that's why they had to do that, I guess.
Remember Jonathan Katz's thing? The comedy boom joke?
What's that?
Jonathan Katz. The comedy boom will end, ladies and gentlemen, and I think you know what will happen when it ends. You'll go into a department store, and you'll go up to a clerk, and you'll say, "Where can I find men's shoes?" He will reply, "On men's feet, Sparky." Yeah. Okay.
That's
now,
a good Jonathan Katz.
That's not you. Now, who? The last one, and this is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Who killed JFK?
Lee Harvey Oswald. Am I right?
He was a patsy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Sklar has been on the Fast Five.
Thank you very much. This has been too fast.
You have been delightful, as always,
Thank you.
and so talented, and I'm so glad you drove in from Los Feliz, which takes 9 hours.
That's true. Rush hour.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure, Ed.
All right, Chuck, let's see. Now, we're going to go out on something here. I did a show in San Francisco at a theater called the Throckmorton, and it's a great theater. It's it's in Mill Valley. It's a vaudeville theater.
Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve?
That was the name of the theater. Yeah, that was his house.
Okay.
I don't know. But Charlie Chaplin apparently performed there. It was a vaudeville theater, beautiful, and I did this show, and I had a friend of mine, Dick Bright, who is a band leader, and I asked him to play one of my favorite songs, and he did a great cover of it. So we're going to go out on Dick Bright, Maestro Dick Bright from the Bay Area, brilliant, playing a cover of a great song, and then we will see you next week on Humor Me with Ed Crasnick. Keep coming back. It works if you work it.